Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and One Night. Now, when it was 993rd night, she pursued. It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the wazir said to the king, Methinks he is naught but an imposter, and 'tis the impostor who ruineth the house of the covetous. The king said, O wazir, I will prove him, and soon know if he be an impostor, or a true man, or whether he be a rearling of fortune or not. The wazir asked, And how wilt thou prove him? And the king answered, I will send for him to the presence, and entreat him with honour, and give him a jewel which I have. And he know it, and wot its price, he is a man of worth and wealth. But an he know it not, he is an impostor and an upstart, and I will do him to die by the foulest fashions of death. So he sent for Maruf, who came and saluted him. The king returned his salam, and seating him beside himself, said to him, Art thou the merchant Maruf? And said he, Yes. Quoth the king, The merchants declare that thou owest them 60,000 ducats. Is this true? Yes, quoth he. Asked the king, Then why dost thou not give them their money? And he answered, Let them wait till my baggage come, and I will repay them twofold. And they wish for gold, they shall have gold, and should they wish for silver, they shall have silver. And they prefer for merchandise, I will give them merchandise. And to whom I owe 1,000, I will give 2,000 in requital of that wherewith he hath veiled my face before the poor, for I have plenty. Then said the king, O merchant, take this and look what is its kind and value. And he gave him a jewel the bigness of a hazelnut, which he had bought for 1,000 sequins, and not having its fellow prized it highly. Maruf took it, and pressing it between his finger and forefinger, brake it, for it was brittle, and would not brook the squeeze. Quoth the king, Why hast thou broken the jewel? And Maruf laughed and said, O king of the age, this is no jewel. This is but a bittock of mineral worth 1,000 dinars. Why dost thou style it a jewel? A jewel I call such as is worth 60 and 10,000 gold piece. This is but a piece of stone. A jewel that is not of the bigness of a walnut hath no worth in my eye, and I take no account thereof. How cometh it thou that who art king stylest this thing a jewel, when 'tis but a bit of mineral worth 1,000 dinar? But ye are excusable, for that ye are poor folk, and have not in your possession things of price. The king asked, O merchant, hast thou jewels such as those where thou speakest? And he answered, Plenty. Whereupon avarice overcame the king, and he said, Wilt thou give me real jewels? Said Maruf, When my baggage train shall come, I will give thee no end of jewels, and all that thou canst desire I have in plenty, and will give thee without price. At this the king rejoiced, and said to the traders, Wend your ways, and have patience with him till his baggage arrive. When do you come to me and receive your monies from me? So they fared forth, and the king turned to his wazir, and said to him, Pay court to merchant Maruf, to take and give him in talk, and bespeak him of my daughter, Princess Dunya, and he may wed her, and so we gain these riches he hath. Said the wazir, O king of the age, this man's fashion misliketh me, and methinks he is an impostor and a liar. So leave this whereof thou speakest, lest thou lose thy daughter for naught. Now this minister had sued the king aforetime to give him his daughter to wife, and he was willing to do so. But when she heard of it, she consented not to marry him. Accordingly the king said to him, O traitor, thou desirest no good for me, because in the past thou sawest my daughter in wedlock, but she would have none of thee. So now thou wouldest cut off the way of her marriage, and wouldest have the princess lie fallow, that thou mayest take her. But hear from me one word. Thou hast no concern in this matter. How can he be an impostor and a lying, seeing that he knew the price of the jewel, even that for which I bought it, and break it because it pleased him not? He hath jewels in plenty, and when he goeth into my daughter, and seeth her to be beautiful, she will captivate his reason, and he will love her, and give her jewels and things of price. But as for thee, thou wouldest forbid my daughter and myself these good things. So the minister was silent, for fear of the king's anger, and he said to him, Set the curs on the cattle. Then, with show of friendly bias, he betook himself to Maruf, and said to him, His Highness the King loveth thee, and hath a daughter, a winsome lady, and a lovesome, to whom he is minded to marry thee. What sayest thou? Said he, No harm in that, but let him wait till my baggage come, for marriage settlements on king's daughters are large, and their rank demandeth that they be not endowed, save with a dowry befitting their degree. At this present I have no mercy with me till the coming of my baggage, for I have wealth in plenty, and needs must I make her marriage portion 5,000 purses. Then shall need 1,000 purses to distribute amongst the poor and needing on my wedding night, and other thousands to give those who walk in the bridal procession, yet other thousands wherewith to provide provaunt for the troops and others. And I shall want 100 jewels to give to the princess on the wedding morning, and other 100 gems to distribute among the slave girls and eunuchs, for I must give each of them a jewel in honor of the bride. And I need wherewithal to clothe 1,000 naked paupers, and alms to needs must be given. All this cannot be done till my baggage come. But I have plenty, and once it is here, I shall make no account of all this outlay. The wazir returned to the king and told him what Maruf said, whereupon quoth he, Since this is his wish, how canst thou style him impostor and liar? Replied the minister, And I cease not to say this. But the king chid him angrily, and threatened him, saying, By the life of my head, and thou cease not this talk, I will slay thee. Go back to him, and fetch him to me, and I will manage matters with him myself. So the wazir returned to Maruf, and said to him, Come and speak with the king. I hear and obey, said Maruf, and went into the king, who said to him, Thou shalt not put me off these excuses, for my treasury is full. So take the keys, and spend all thou needest, and give thou wilt, and clothe the poor, and do thou desire, and have no care for the girl and the handmaids. When the baggage shall come, do thou wilt with thy wife, by way of generosity, and we will have patience with thee anent the marriage portion till then. For there is no matter of difference betwixt us and thee, none at all. Then he sent for Sheikh al-Islam, and bade him write out the marriage contract between his daughter and merchant Maruf, and he did so. After which the king gave the signal for beginning the wedding festivities, and bade decorate the city. The kettle drums beat, and the tables were spread with meats of all kinds, and there came performers who paraded their tricks. Merchant Maruf sat upon a throne in a parlor, and the players and gymnasts and effeminates, and dancing men of wondrous movements, and posture-makers of marvellous cunning, came before him, whilst he called out to the treasurer, and said to him, Bring gold and silver. So he brought gold and silver, and Maruf went around among the spectators, and largessed each performer by the handful, and gave alms to the poor and needy, and clothed the naked. It was a clamorous festival, and a right merry. The treasurer could not bring money fast enough from the treasury, and the wazir's heart was like to burst for rage. But he dared not say a word, whilst merchant Ali marvelled at this waste of wealth, and said to merchant Maruf, Allah and the hallows, visit this upon thy head sides. Doth it not suffice thee to squander the trader's money, but thou must squander that of the king to boot? Replied Maruf, 'Tis none of thy concern, whenas my baggage shall come, and I will requite the king manifold. And he went on lavishing money, and saying in himself, A burning plague, what will happen when happen, and there is no flying from that which is foreordained. The festivities ceased not for the space of 40 days, and on the 41st day they made the bride's cortege, and all the emirs and troops walked before her. When they brought her in before Maruf, he began scattering gold on the people's heads, and they made her a mighty fine procession, whilst Maruf expended in her honor vast sums of money. Then they brought him in to Princess Denia, and he sat down on the high divan, after which they let fall the curtain and shut the doors, withdrew, leaving him alone with his bride. Whereupon he smote hand upon hand, and sat a while sorrowful, and saying, There is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah, the glorious, the great. Quoth the princess, O my lord, Allah preserve thee, what aileth thee, thou art troubled? Quoth he, And how shall I be other than troubled, seeing that thy father hath embarrassed me, and done with me a deed which is like the burning of green corn? She asked, And what hath my father done with thee? Tell me. And he answered, He hath brought me into thee before the coming of my baggage, and I want at least 100 jewels to distribute among thy handmaids, to give a jewel so each might rejoice therein, and say, My lord gave me a jewel on the night of his going in to my lady. This good deed would I have done in honor of thy station, and for the increase of thy dignity. and I have no need to stint myself in lavish jewels, for I have of them plenty. Rejoined she, Be not concerned for that. As for me, trouble not thyself about me, for I will have patience with thee till thy baggage shall come. And as for my women, have no care for them. Rise, doff thy clothes, and do thy pleasure. And when the baggage cometh, we shall get the jewels and the rest. So he arose, and putting off his clothes, sat down on the bed, and sought Lovelace, and they fell to toying with each other. He laid his hand on her knee, and she sat down in his lap, and thrust her lip like a titbit of meat into his mouth, and that hour was such as maketh a man to forget his father and his mother. Then he clapped her between the breast, and his hand slipped between her thighs, and she girded him with her legs, whereupon he made of the two parts proof amain, and crying out, O sire of the chin-veils twain! Applied the priming and kindling the match, and set it to the touch-hole, and gave fire, and breached the citadel in its four corners. So there befell the mystery concerning which there is no inquiry. And she cried the cry that needs must be cried. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 994th night, she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that while the Princess Denia cried the cry which must be cried, merchant Maruf abated her maidenhead, and that night was one not to be counted among lives, for that which it comprised of the enjoyment of the fair clipping and daily futtering till the day of dawn, when he arose and entered the hammam, whence after donning a suit for sovereigns suitable, he betook himself to the king's divan. All who were there rose to him and received him with honor and worship, giving him joy and invoked blessings upon him. And he sat down by the king's side and asked, Where's the treasurer? They answered, He is here before thee. And he said to him, Bring robes to honor for all the wazirs and emirs and dignitaries, and clothe them therewith. The treasurer brought them all he sought, and he sat giving to all who came, with lavish largesse upon each man according to his station. On this ways he abode 20 days, whilst no baggage appeared for him, nor aught else, till the treasurer was straitened by him to the uttermost, and going into the king, as he sat alone, with the wazir and Maruf's presence, kissed ground between his hands, said, O king of the age, I must tell thee somewhat, lest haply thou blame me for not acquainting thee therewith. Know that the treasury is being exhausted. There is none but little money left in it, and in 10 days more we shall be shut up in emptiness. Quoth the wazir, O wazir, verily my son-in-law's baggage train tarrieth long, and there appeareth no news thereof. The minister laughed and said, Allah be gracious to thee, O king of the age. Thou art none other but heedless with respect to this impostor, this liar. As thy head liveth, there is no baggage for him, no, a burning plague to rid us of him. Nay, he hath but imposed on thee without surcease, so that he hath wasted thy treasures, and married thy daughter for naught. How long, therefore, wilt thou be heedless of this liar? Then quoth the king, O wazir, how shall we do to learn the truth of this case? And quoth the wazir, O king of the age, none may come to a man's secret but his wife. So send for thy daughter, and let her come between the curtain, that I may question her of the truth of his state, and to the intent that she may make a question of him, and acquaint us with his case. Cried the king, There is no harm in that, and as my head liveth, if it be proved that he is a liar and an impostor, I will verily do him to die by the foulest of deaths. Then he carried the wazir into the sitting chamber, and sent for his daughter, who came behind the curtain, her husband being absent, and said, What wouldest thou, O my father? Said he, Speak with the wazir. She asked him, saying, Ho thou the wazir, what is thy will? And he answered, O my lady, thou must know that thy husband hath squandered thy father's substance, and married thee without a dower. And it ceaseth not to promise us, and break his promises, nor cometh thee any tidings of his baggage. In short, we would have thee inform us concerning him. Quoth she, Indeed his word be many, and he still cometh and promiseth me jewels and treasures and costly stuffs, but I see nothing. Quoth the wazir, O my lady, canst thou this night take and give him in talk and whisper to him? Say me sooth, and fear for me not, for thou art become my husband, and I will not transgress against thee. So tell me the truth of the matter, and I will devise thee a device whereby thou shalt be set at rest. and do the play near and far with him in words, and profess love to him, and win him to confess, and after tell us the facts of this case. And she answered, O my papa, I know how I will make proof of him. Then she went away, and after supper her husband came in to her according to his wont. Whereupon Princess Dunya rose to him, and took him under the armpit, and wheedled him with winsomest wheedling, and all sufficient are women's wiles, whenas she would aught of men. And she ceased not to caress him, and beguile him with speech sweeter than honey, till she stole his reason. And when she saw all together inclined to her, she said to him, O my beloved, O cooleth of my eyes, and fruit of my vitals, Allah never desolate me by less of thee, nor time sunder us twain, me and thee. Indeed, the love of thee hath homed me in my heart, and the fire of passion hath consumed my liver. Never, nor will I ever speak thee or transgress against thee. But I would have thee tell me the truth, for that the sleights of falsehood profit not, nor do they secure at all seasons. How long wilt thou impose upon my father, and lie to him? I fear lest thine affair be discovered to him, ere we can devise some device, and he lay violent hands upon thee. So acquaint me with the facts of the case, for naught shall befall thee, save that thou shalt be gladdened thee, and when thou shalt spoken sooth, fear not harm nor betide thee. How often wilt thou declare that thou art a merchant, and a man of money, and hast a luggage train? This long while past thou sayest, My baggage, my baggage, my baggage, but there appeareth no sign of thy baggage, and visible in thy face is anxiety on this account. So an there be no worth in thy words, tell me, and I will contrive thee a contrivance whereby thou shalt come off safe, Inshallah. He replied, I will tell thee the truth, and then do thou whatsoever thou wilt. Rejoined she, Speak, and look thou speakst soothly, for sooth is the ark of safety, and beware of lying, for it dishonoureth the liar, and the God-gift is he who saith, Where that truth thou speak, I'll be sooth when said, shall cause thee and threaten fire to fall, and seek Allah's approof, for most foolish he who shall anger his Lord to make friends withal. He said, Know then, O lady, then I am no merchant, and have no baggage, no a burning plague. Nay, I was but a cobbler in my own country, and had a wife called Fatima the Dung, with whom there befell me this and that. And he told her his story from beginning to end. Right, she laughed and said, Verily, thou art very clever in the practice of lying and imposture. Whereto he answered, O my lady, may Allah Almighty preserve thee to veil sins and countervail chagrins. Rejoiced she, Know that thou imposest upon my sire, and deceivest him by dint of thy deluding vaunts, so that of this greed for gain he married me to thee. Then thou squanderest his wealth, and the wazir beareth thee a grudge for this. How many a time hath he spoken against thee to my father, saying, Indeed, he is an impostor and a liar. But my sire hearkened not to this, for that he sought me in wedlock, and I consented not that he be barren and I femme. However, the time grew longsome upon my sire, and he became straitened, and said to me, Make him confess. So I have made thee confess, and that which was covered is discovered. Now my father proposeth thee a mischief because of this, but thou art become my husband, and I will never transgress against thee. And I told my father what I have learned from thee. He would be certified of thy falsehoods, and imposture that thou imposest upon kings' daughters, and squanderest royal wealth. So would thine offence find him no pardon, and he would slay thee sans a doubt. Wherefore it would be bruited among the folk that I married a man who was a liar, an impostor, and this would smirch mine honour. Furthermore, and he kill thee, most like he will require me to wed another, and to this thing I will never consent. No, not though I die. So rise now, and don a Mameluke's dress, and take these 50,000 dinars of my money, and mount a swift steed, and get thee to a land whither the rule of my father doth not reach. Then make thee a merchant, and send me a letter by courier, who shall bring it to me privily, that I may know in what land thou art, so I may send thee all my hand can attain. Thus shalt thy wealth wax great, and if my father die, I will send for thee, and thou shalt return in respect and honour. And if we die, thou or I go to the mercy of God, the most great. The resurrection shall unite us. This then is the rede that is right, and while we both abide alive and well, I will not cease to send thee letters and monies. Arise, ere the day wax bright, and thou be in perplexed plight, and perdition upon thy head alight. Quoth he, O my lady, I beseech thee of thy favour to bid me farewell with thine embracement. And quoth she, No harm in that. So he embraced her, and knew her kindly, after which he made the ghoul's ablution. Then, donning the dress of a white slave, he bade the syce saddle him a thoroughbred steed. Accordingly they saddled him a corsair, and he mounted, and farewelling his wife, rode forth the city at the last of the night, whilst all who saw him deemed him one of the Mamelukes of the Sultan, going abroad on some business. Next morning the king and his wazir repaired to the sitting chamber, and sent for Princess Denya, who came behind the curtain, and her father said to her, O my daughter, what sayest thou? Said she, I say, Allah blacken thy wazir's face, because he would have blackened my face and my husband's eyes. Asked the king, How so? And she answered, He came into me yesterday, but before I could name the matter of him, behold, he walked Fajah, the chief eunuch, letter in hand, and said, 10 white slaves stand under the palace windows, and have given me this letter, saying, Kiss first the hands of our lord merchant Maruf, and give him this letter, for we are his Mamelukes with the baggage, and it hath reached us that he hath wedded the king's daughter. So we are come to acquaint him with that which befell us by the way. Accordingly I took the letter, and read as follows. From the 500 Mamelukes to his highness, our lord merchant Maruf. But further, we give thee to know that after thou quittest us, the Arabs came upon us and attacked us. They were 200 horse, and we 100 mounted slaves, and there befell a mighty sore fight between us and them. They hindered us from the road 30 days, doing battle with us, and this is the cause of our tearing from thee. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale, till it be morrow.